This is the story of the assassination that started World War I. It was the summer of 1914 in Europe, and the heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, had decided to visit the Bosnian capital of Sarajevo. This wasn't exactly a casual weekend trip for the Archduke and his wife Sophie. They were going there to send a message to the people of Bosnia, who had recently attempted an uprising against Austro-Hungarian rule. The Archduke and his wife would be the headliners at a military parade showing off the Austro-Hungarian army's might. It was supposed to be a show of force, but it turned out to be a funeral instead. On June 28th, the Archduke and his wife were riding in an open-top car, making their way through the streets of Sarajevo. People lining the streets were cheering for the imperial couple, except for one man. Gavrilo Princip, a member of a secret nationalist society called the Black Hand, had been waiting for this moment for years. As the Archduke's car approached, he pulled a pistol and fired 2 shots into the back of the car. Both the Archduke and his wife were hit and mortally wounded. They would both die within an hour of the shooting. At first, the local Austro-Hungarian military commander wanted to arrest the assassin, but Princip and the rest of the conspirators got away. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia for helping to plan the assassination and declared war on them on July 23, 1914. Soon, every major European nation was at war, kicking off one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. But why did Austria-Hungary go to war with Serbia? And how did this relatively minor conflict quickly turn into a global catastrophe? To understand how a small local conflict escalated into a global war, we have to start with the assassination itself. Gavrilo Princip was not just some random street thug. He was a member of a secret organization known as the Black Hand. They were a Serbian nationalist group dedicated to ending Habsburg rule over Bosnia and Herzegovina. When Austria-Hungary annexed these territories in 1908, it created a powder keg that just needed a spark to ignite it. You see, nationalism is when people identify with a particular nation or ethnic group and feel a sense of solidarity with them. But the problem is that sometimes you and another nation might both feel that you belong to the same piece of land. Take France and Germany, for example. Both felt they had a claim to the region of Alsace-Lorraine, which led to the Franco-Prussian War of 1870-71. Or take Greece and Turkey. Both nations felt they had a claim to the same piece of land in the Ottoman Empire. And when Greece got fed up, they went to war with the Ottomans in 1912. Bosnia was no different. For centuries, the area had been part of the Ottoman Empire until Russia and Austria-Hungary both set their sights on it. During the Balkan Wars between 1911 and 1913, Russia helped Serbia gain territory by taking on the Ottomans. But then, something unexpected happened. Instead of giving the territory to Serbia, Russia left it to Austria-Hungary. This meant that Austria-Hungary now controlled access to the Adriatic Sea and would become a Mediterranean power. This move also upset Serbia, which felt betrayed by Russia. At the same time, they lost valuable territory to their hated rival, Austria-Hungary. But none were more outraged than the people living under Habsburg rule. Many of them were ethnic Slavs and wanted to unite with Serbia. This is where the Black Hand comes in. They wanted to create a Slavic kingdom in the Balkans, free from Habsburg rule. So when Archduke Franz Ferdinand traveled to Sarajevo, they saw it as the perfect chance to make their dream a reality. The assassination was planned by a group of high-ranking military officers within the Black Hand, but only Gavrilo Princip was able to carry out the attack because he was the smallest and could fit in the back of the car with the others. Once Princip shot the Archduke, he tried to kill himself with a second bullet, but it jammed. Instead, he was arrested along with the other conspirators and put on trial for treason and conspiracy. But while the Austrians were able to convict Princip and the others, it wasn't the outcome they were hoping for. See, the Austrians thought they could easily defeat Serbia by marching their army across the border and occupying Belgrade within 3 weeks. But the Russians immediately mobilized to protect Serbia. so the Austrians had to rethink their plans. In the end, they decided to seek support from their ally, Germany. But before they could do that, they had to deal with the aftermath of the assassination. The Austrians wanted to make an example out of Sarajevo. They began rounding up people suspected of involvement in the assassination and executing them without trial. Then they began searching homes and offices, arresting anyone they suspected of being a threat to the empire. To make things worse, the city was in the middle of a heat wave, and people were already angry about the high prices and food shortages. When the Austrians began taking food supplies from stores and farms to feed troops, people became desperate. Fearing unrest in the city, the Austrians decided to abandon Sarajevo and let the Russians take over. They handed over all the weapons and ammunition to the Russians and pulled out all of their troops. Meanwhile, German Chancellor Theobald von Bethmann-Hollweg was trying to convince the French and British to join the war on Germany's side, but neither wanted to get involved in a conflict that didn't affect them directly. This meant that Germany would have to fight the Russians alone. But as soon as the Germans began mobilizing their troops, the French and British made up their mind. On August 4th, the British declared war on Germany and began sending troops to France. 4 days later, the Japanese joined the war on the side of the British and began attacking German holdings in the Pacific. The next day, the Russians declared war on Germany and began moving troops into East Prussia. As soon as the fighting started, it became clear that this was going to be a war like no other. The fighting was brutal and deadly. The Germans and the French fought over the control of Belgium. The Russians pushed into East Prussia, and the British took control of the seas. By October, nearly 1 million soldiers had been killed or wounded, but despite the massive casualties, neither side was able to achieve a decisive victory. As the fighting dragged on, people began to wonder if this was just the beginning. Would this war last for years? Would there ever be a winner? Or would it just drag on forever? Well, it actually did drag on forever. World War I lasted for 4 long years, but that's a story for another video. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think? Was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand a suicide mission for the Black Hand? Or do you think they really had a chance of succeeding? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And on that ends yet another exciting episode. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching.